We all know that feeling. For me, the lights flicker. Once, twice, and on the third time, I know that everything is about to go dark. Freezing in place, you wait. Waiting for that third flicker. Waiting for everything to disappear. And the electricity is gone. What happens next will change the course of your day and maybe your week. Your TV starts going crazy, and then, boom! An explosion outside in the tree line. Darkness envelops you. Your breakfast isn't made, you didn't pack up your papers for work, and now you don't even have a light in your hand. The power has gone out. Who even knows when it will return? So, according to a study done by Eaton, in 2017, 36.7 million people were affected by 3,526 reported power outages. According to the report, while the number of outages represents a slight decrease from 2016, the number of people affected actually skyrocketed. It is more than twice than the 17.9 million that were affected in 2016. The average power outage in 2017 lasted approximately 81 minutes. So I think this is all interesting because most of the time when the power goes out, it's like a day or two. So 81 minutes, that must be including, big cities and things. Because otherwise, you wouldn't have 81 minutes. With that, you're looking at less than 2 hours. And that's at the longest with that. So, it's got to be a quick response, and most of these must be known. But I wouldn't take that 81 minutes as the 100% truth, I'd say, because for you, it's probably going to be different based on where you live, especially since that was 2017, and even since then, it's actually skyrocketed more. So, it's good data to look at and everything, and it's crazy to see just how many people are affected by it, but that 81 minutes most times will actually be longer. And, there's sometimes that'll go out a minute or two later, come back on. So, that's all what they collected and stuff, but it's a big study. So if you want to go check out more, I'll have a link so you can go see all of the archives and things of everything that's happened over the last few years. So between 2000 and 2014, the number of reported power outages, including weather-related power outages, rose across the entire country. Why? An aging infrastructure, combining with a growing population and more frequent extreme weather, they are all stringing the electric grid. So, really the big problem here is we need to update that stuff. But that stuff takes a really long time and a lot of money to update. So, I think we should update them where they need it most and then start working backwards to where they don't need it the most. Because, some places out in the country, it's weak sometimes, especially in places like Minnesota and Maine and places where, they get feet of snow at a time. Colorado, the only reason I didn't mention that is because, they're used to it. It's Colorado. That's what you expect. But in some of those places in Minnesota and Maine, it can be really nice in the summertime. But then you get to wintertime and it's dropping feet per day. And that is something that's very harsh and hard on the power lines. So, you need to update those first, because, people who live in rural areas are going to have weeks without power if you're getting to the cities first and then extending outwards. But the 5-year annual average of outages doubled every 5 years, which means the current 5-year annual average is 4 times as high as what it was 15 years ago. For 2000-2004, there was an average of 44 reported grid outages per year. From 2005-2009, there were an average of 100 reported grid outages. And then from 2010 to 2013, which is a 4-year period, there was an average of 200 reported grid outages per year. So let's just look at that. So 2000 to 2004, 44. Then 2005 to 2009, 100. 2010 to 2013, 200. So we are 2.5, then you're completely doubling, which is crazy. And that just shows you, especially with that timeline, that's directly related to how the climate change has been going. But the main thing is how much time since that infrastructure was set up. So it's definitely a clear sign of a problem that is going to need to be fixed. So June is the most common month for severe weather-related outages, followed by August and then July being last. So that makes sense. I mean, middle of the summer, big storms and things. It just kind of makes sense there. And then, you got the heat in July and August, which is a complete other system of climate and everything, especially in downtown cities, where that urban heat island is. And make sure you go check out our I think we have a video of it and another podcast on urban heat islands, because these things are so interesting. We made a whole episode on it to show you what all is going on with them. So since 2000, there have been 19 related grid disruption events that affected more than 1 million customers. 8 were hurricanes and 3 were winter storms. Southern Company, which operates utilities in Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, and the American Electric Power, AEP, which operates utilities in Texas, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, experienced the most weather-related grid disruptions. So if you have that company, generally when there's going to be a storm, you're going to have to make sure that you are prepared for an outage, because according to them, that is the easiest ones to go out. Now, that's not really like, oh, boo-hoo on that company. It's, looking at them, you have Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi for the one. That's where you got the whole Dixie Alley system of storms. So that just makes sense, because when there's tornadoes down there, they knock out a lot. But then looking at the other ones, Texas, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, that seems to be more of for AEP, that seems to be more of a localized issue. Texas, you can understand because of heat in the summer, and then storms coming out of East Texas. But really, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, while they do have storms, I think that's just a localized issue, because power goes out so easily there with winds. I think it's just something that they're going to have to fix themselves and maybe change their own infrastructure a little bit to maybe keep some customers safe. To make sure you are safe and can still function, you should always have these items prepared. And this supply list is by Everplans, and I'll leave a link to them so you can go see how to set up this stuff, how to prepare it, where to keep it, and everything. But these are just some items that you can have, and they're really good for staying safe. So you want non-perishable foods, obviously, eat, because, when the power goes out, your fridge and everything, it's done. It's only keeping that air for so long. So you're going to want that cold air so you have the best chance of being able to keep that food. They suggest about 4 hours is about the most amount of time you can keep stuff in like the freezer and everything. And we'll get into that in a little bit on why that's so important. So you want those non-perishable foods. Examples, you want stuff in cans if you can. That's funny there. You want like bread products, granola bars, anything that's like pre-packaged really, that you don't have to prep in a certain way. You want a simple water purification system. This is really big in places that are high in like iron and different places where like the water can rust and stuff. A lot of places you're going to want that simple water purification so you can have clean water, because most fridges don't supply water when the power goes out. They're electric powered, so you're going to have to use tap water. And if you live in a place that's bad, or let's just say your city has electric run water, then it's going to be a bad situation for you, because you're going to have to either get bottles of water or something else. So if you want to be able to not have to buy packages and bottles of water, have some system that you can buy. I believe they have them on Amazon, that you can just simply put some tap water into and it'll clean it out for you. Make sure you have your medication ahead of time, and you want everything in those great ones that are these organization systems that run Saturday to Sunday or Monday to Sunday, and they have great little dividers for those, so you can prep those ahead of time, especially in front of a storm. It's going to be great to have everything set up. You want hygienes for your hands and everything, so you want hand sanitizer, soap, shampoo, anything like that, and really just toothbrush, toothpaste, because most times you're going to be stuck. And if you're in those places like Minnesota and Maine and you're going to be stuck for a few weeks, especially if you have a big snow event, then you're gonna be stranded. So make sure you have the basic necessities. Obviously, you're going to want some flashlights, and another great point about that is you want batteries. Now, a great hint is if you run out of batteries, check your TV remotes, radios, anything like that. Now, keep a radio on if you're looking at the weather radio, because it will help you out. But you're going to want to take them out of the TV remote because you're not going to use that TV, obviously. So you're going to need to take them out of the remote, out of that back casing, and that can help you in case you run out of batteries. But always have enough batteries prepped for a few weeks in many items. So always just have like the big value packs of them. Just always have another one of those in storage so you will never actually run out. You want some unscented candles so you can get some light maybe in like a hallway or something. And if you want some scented candles, you could go ahead and do that, but they don't light up as much. So a big caution about that is if they tip over, they will burn things. So make sure you're being careful on where you're putting those. Another great thing is sterno. It is a cooking fuel, so you can use it maybe on a grill if it's not if it's a gas-powered grill or any other gas-powered item. You should always have some of this around, just so in case this happens, or you're stuck, you can manage to cook food somehow. If you have any food that you want to use and eat, before it goes bad. Obviously, you want some matches. And those, can help you light up things and everything. And they can help out with a whole lot of other things too. So it's good to have those. Another great one is a transistor radio, and it's a transitor, and what it does is you can get the NOAA weather information. You can listen to the radio for a local station to see if they're updating people on power coming back on and things. And I mean, you could listen to some, I believe, FM stations. So if you like listening to the radio, listening to some music, you can. So it's all, you can get the crank ones, you can get the battery powered ones, pretty much anything you can get in one of these radios. So a great one that I highly suggest is the Red Cross Family First Aid Kit. And this thing has everything in it that you will need, and it's just a really good thing to have in case someone gets injured somehow. You don't have to go digging around in cabinets, you just have it all right there in one pack. It has really essentially everything you're going to need, and so yeah, you can get them online. You can also get them at your local market, I believe, and it's a great utility option for wraps and things. In a lot of scenarios, in severe weather scenarios where the power goes out, there's gonna be some damage, so it's easy to cut yourself on things. So it's good to have this as backup in case something like this happens. You can have something there to help you. So obviously you want sleeping bags and a blanket, because if you're in the middle of the winter and you want to sleep downstairs because the upstairs gets cold, well, if you don't have any blankets or anything, it's going to be cold downstairs too, and you're going to have to layer up. So have sleeping bags always prepared in case something is to happen, and it's always a good rule of thumb to have a blanket around. And this is going to sound crazy, but you actually want books and board games, because you're going to be sitting there for a long time if you're stranded. So you're going to want some things to do. A great thing to do if you have cans that pre-packaged food I was talking about. You're going to want a manual can opener, because those cans are hard enough to get open. So having this is going to allow you to actually eat the food, not just stare at it. You're obviously going to want work gloves so you can work on the stuff outside. And you want hand and feet warmers, because once again, if you're in the middle of winter, your house is going to get cold quick. Another great thing to have is a utility tool, and this you can get the multifunction ones. You can get ones that have clips, knives on them, and a whole lot of other things. I have one that is like, it has a box opener on it, and then a whole bunch of little like screwdriver heads on it. So it's really just a handy thing that you can use and have with you, that in case you need it, you can have it. It has like a little wire cutter on the inside of it, so it'll really allow you to be able to use and function with normal things that maybe like you can't find that screwdriver because it's too dark and you can't look in the cabinet or anything. Well, having this, it's an easy way to just quickly, without having to dig around or anything, keep it in your pocket, and it'll be a very useful tool for you. Another one is an ergo shovel. Obviously, you want a shovel if you're digging up snow or debris or anything. The best one on this list, in my opinion, is a generator. And you can get these. There's all these commercials for Generac generators. You can get the hand crank generators, and there's a whole lot of other ones. Having a generator, some of them are very expensive, but they basically range from ones that will keep like your fridge running to, I believe, the entire house. I believe they have ones that will literally keep your entire house running. So you can have the heat or air conditioning, you can cook food and everything, all from this one generator. And really, it's like a second life for your power. Power goes out, this thing turns on, and it will always help you to, keep going. So I highly suggest looking into one, because it will be something that even if like you only have the lights on, maybe you just have it for your fridge and some like furnace stuff, it's going to keep you safe, and it's going to allow you to kind of live a little bit more normally. And so I highly suggest it, because no one wants to just have to deal with being in the dark nonstop. That's not fun. So another great option is portable chargers, and I have quite a few of these. And these portable chargers, they really allow you to just charge anything you want. If you have like cameras or anything that you need charged, you could plug them into this. And you have ones that last 1 to 2 charges for your phone. Then you can have ones all the way up that'll charge pretty much everything you have, like a power strip. So it's a really good resource to have in case your power goes out, because you don't lose the chance to be able to use things that are powered. You can still charge things, and a lot of those actually come with batteries on the inside of them, so you can actually use battery-powered power packs, and those will easily take you through as long as you have batteries. So a lot of great ones out there, and a lot of great things that you can use, and a lot of great opportunities that ahead of a storm you can prepare and have everything to be able to stay safe and happy during one of these. It's not the best situation, but you can make it better. You can improve it with this. So there are many benefits of solar and wind power. So I thought this was very interesting. I did a little bit of research on this a year or two ago about solar power and wind power. And really, this is like amazing in my opinion. If we would switch the entire infrastructure to solar and wind power, we would almost never have a power outage. And you might be wondering why. Well, the sun is always going to be out, or the wind's always going to be blowing. One or the other is going to be happening, and sometimes both. And in many circumstances, wind and sun are both happening at the same time. And you can store that energy in a place. So on a really windy day, that windmill's going round and around and around. And then on a really sunny day, collect all that sunlight into fields of solar panels just outside of town. I'm guessing that you can probably have the entire township have power if it is really sunny or really windy, and just keep storing it up while you can still have it. And so when a power outage is to occur, it won't happen. It'll just keep going. So like, let's just say normal power, if you do like a hybrid system where it's half this, half that, then you can just compensate with the solar and wind power. But if you're to completely switch, you're always going to have one of those. And if you use some storage with it, it's going to really allow you to have unlimited power. So we will completely eliminate power outages from the equation, and it'll be something of the early 21st century. And in my personal opinion, it's a much more eco-friendly option, because using solar and wind power doesn't require any of these external resources that are going to harm the earth or anything. It's literally just panels of metal and a giant tower with basically a fan on it. So the resources and things that are coming back from solar power and wind power, it's amazing to see what all they power. Many universities are running on solar power now. A lot of agricultural colleges are now running on wind power and things. So especially if you live in an area that's pretty windy. It's a great option. And if you live in a part of the U.S. that gets a lot of sun throughout the year, I'm guessing more than like 75% of the year, you have some type of sunlight every day. I highly suggest that you all should take support in that, because it's going to be a big change. But even if you go to that hybrid option, you can just store the energy but still have that normal power that you currently have. If the power goes out, it's going to be like nothing happened. The power may flicker a few times, go out, and then boom, power back on. And it's going to be amazing to see in the future if we can completely eliminate power outages from the equation. Because it's going to be, the future is running and it's right in front of us. And so many people are already investing in this that I think, probably by 2050, we're going to see cities that are almost completely flawless when it comes to their power infrastructure. And it's going to be almost nothing. So it's going to be like nothing ever happened. And it's always good to know the website of your power company, so you can always report an outage and hopefully speed up the process. You can see where outages are currently being worked on and then when they get fixed. Some precautions to take if a storm hits and knocks out your power. You need to make sure that you check around and make sure there is no natural gas if it's a storm. You need to check and make sure that everyone's okay in your home. Make sure there's no fires if lightning caused it. And, just the generalized things. Make sure that you look and see that your windows are closed and everything. That everyone knows what's going on, that everyone has supplies. And make sure that everyone knows, what their escape route is if something is to happen. Great example, we see these many times throughout severe storms. Tornado hits the first time, then all of a sudden 20 minutes later there's another tornado warning. So you got two tornadoes following the same track. You need to make sure everyone has or can hear a weather radio so you can get those live updates on what is happening live. Because the worst case scenario is two tornadoes hit, and the first one you make it through and the second one you don't make it through. That's like the worst case scenario right there. And that can happen, especially if you're going out looking at debris. And it's a great precaution also to take. Make sure if you're out looking at debris, you're staying safe. Take things slow. If there's snow, just shovel it. Take breaks because, the strain on hearts and things that shoveling snow can cause. So make sure with all of these, you're taking the right precautions that's good for you and your safety. Candles are also wonderful, but they tip over, and that can cause a fire. So always be checking on your candles and keeping them in a safe environment. Save your phone until you need it. If the power goes out for a few days, you might need it for emergency services. And you should really unplug electronics before the storm hits because, the surging power, but if lightning strikes, it'll create a massive surge and could damage your equipment. But if you didn't see the power outage coming, taking the plugs out around the house could still offer protection against the electrical surge of the power coming back on. Install a surge protector, an electrical panel, or a plug-sensitive electronics into the surge protector power strip. So, with this, basically, get a surge protector, because if that power comes back on, it's bam, all the power at once. And a whole lot of electricity is bad, especially if you're standing near it using electricity. So, really just get that surge protector. And then if you hear about a storm coming, unplug those unneeded electronics, because you're saving yourself power surge and potential fire and electrocution of someone if they're using a device. And really, that's just for your safety. It's going to help you in the future, so I highly suggest that you have a plan of action ahead of time for that. So every time you open up the fridge or freezer door, you are letting cold air out, and it won't be recooled until that power comes back on. So an unopened fridge is really the best thing. So really, if you absolutely need it, open the fridge really quickly. It's like a game. See how fast you can get in and grab some food. And, your fridge can keep your food at a safe temperature for at least 4 hours. So, the power should come back on. If it's an average of 81 minutes, then, you should be fine during that. But if you're looking at a day, that food is a loss. That's perishable in there. So, it's not wonderful. Food in a freezer will last good for at least 48 hours if it is full. But that number drops to 24 hours and a half full freezer. So your ice and frozen food, like ice packs insulating the entire freezer unit, don't have to waste their own freezing power to be able to cool everything else. So, I mean, if it stays, if you don't open it at all, then it'll be fine if it's full. But if it's half full, you need to make sure that you have ice packs in there, but keep it closed, because you want to keep all that stuff in that freezer nice and cold, because otherwise it's just going to melt and that's going to be all bad. So hopefully you already know that generator gives off toxic carbon monoxide, but you should keep it in an open air away from the house. But even with the garage door open, where many people keep it, a garage is still too enclosed and too close to your home. Many times you can get entrapped if you only have one door open, and that can be almost as effective as what it is normally. It is a clear and killer gas. It will be horrible if your house fills up with that, and it's a silent killer. You just don't know what's happening until you just pass out, and then it's not going to be good. So, I mean, before a big storm hits, you probably make sure your pantry is stocked with non-perishable food, but don't forget about bottled water. If your power outage is a mess, it can mess with water systems. It can cause a boil water alert. And so you'll want to stay safe and have drinking water at hand. And have 1 gallon of water per day per person without electricity, and having water for your pets too. So really, if it's a big storm coming, plan ahead for a week is what they suggest, maybe 2 weeks. And all that's from the Reader's Digest. I have a link for that in the description. But it's amazing, and have all that stuff I mentioned prepared, and take those precautions, because it could save your life. So, a quick segment on this week in weather news. Record cold in parts of Canada due to a dip in the Arctic jet stream. Many faced negative 45-degree temps. Snowdrifts built up on people's houses, and they are pretty much as tall as the people's houses. And I saw people shoveling from their second-story window, and a lot of videos of people just like trying to dig their car out, and maybe even the garage door going up, and it's just a wall of snow, so people were using it as a fridge if their power went out. So it's crazy how much snow they got up there, but I mean, it makes sense, it's Canada. But the temperatures are what really are surprising there, negative 45, and there is a interesting phenomena that happens that if you get into a warm area, your legs will actually steam. So if you go out for a run and you get in your car, your legs will start steaming, because it's so your body's so warm compared to that negative 45. It's more than, you go 45 to 0, and then you go up close to 100 degrees. So you're looking at 40 to 50 degree change in just a matter of seconds. So it's amazing to see that kind of reaction happen. But that also brought winter temps in the United States, and what's interesting is it made it about average. We've been like 10 to 15 degrees above average in many places, but this allowed us to kind of hit average again, which seems freezing cold. But you have to remember, it's the middle of January. And having these degrees up in the 40s, 50s, and 70s, we're breaking records. It's not normal, and it shouldn't be that way. But, this dip is really allowing us to have that normal temperature gap. And, looking at the temperatures in many places over the next week or two, we're looking at many, it's 10 degrees above average, but it's quite normal. Highs in the mid-40s, and then you got 30s for the low. So it's not that warm, but it's warmer than normal, which is a problem. So the U.S. obviously hasn't had a early winter weather normal. It's been all over the place. We've had them in the 80s, we had them down in the negative digits, and it's just single digits. It's just all over the place. There is no really trend line with this. There are so many outliers this year that, it's just hard to predict all of that. And it's hard to see where we're going with this. So, that's your week in weather news update. Really just looking at how cold it's getting in places is good. It's a really good thing. But it's another thing to look at. We're calling it getting better, of getting down to normal temperatures. We're saying that weather is good for this time of year if it is down at average. And really, it just should be, well, it's average. And we should say it's good, if it's a degree or two above or a degree or two below. But we've been so high temperature-wise that it's just, we haven't had a true winter, which I'm afraid that we're going to end up having most of the spring either be winter, or we're going to skip that kind of spring season and go from like right now just a full summer where it's just like 100 degrees every day. And that's all going to play out. But on the grand scale of looking at things for the century, we might see a trend of this is what winter is now, above freezing temperatures, and, then really hot in the summer. So we'll just have to see, and time will tell what all will happen. And with climate change acts and everything that we're trying to focus on and do, we'll see if we can help change that and, allow Earth to have its seasons. So yeah, I want to thank you all so much for listening and watching if you're watching this on YouTube. And make sure to check out the social medias at EF Meteorology on Twitter, and in our photography at EF Network Photography on Instagram. And a few quick updates. Our forecasts will be coming out soon. Monday is looking like the day that we'll be posting these for the week ahead. Stay tuned on Twitter for more updates and on the development of these forecasts. And videos on YouTube will be posted soon. I'm thinking about doing some weather education videos on some storm structure and some other topics in weather. This is really to teach you and me about how storms work. And honestly, storms are amazing. And I am extremely excited to start doing these and teaching you all about these storms and everything else about weather. I really love doing research like this, and I hope you too can find a passion in weather. So stay posted for more on Twitter and YouTube on other updates on the EF network. Thank you all so much for listening and watching, and I hope to see you again next time.